Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
Tora Zophia, formerly Susanna, is a life designer, a passionate energy master, a visionary, a podcast host, author, blogger, speaker, guide, and mentor who dares to be different and live the impossible. She's a co-host of the popular podcast Live the Impossible Show, is an unfuckwithable blogger, and is a Holy Land membership site visionary and co-creator. She mentors, guides, teaches, and reactivates unique genius codes for energy mastery, life artistry, life intelligence, education, and divine feminine leadership. And Tora is speaking with us today and sharing a wealth of knowledge on sovereignty and freedom for all. Tora, the spotlight is on you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. So lovely to be here with you. So I have a bit of controversial information that I realize that a lot of people don't even are aware of, and I haven't been aware of. I started in, as you were talking about the cosmic connection. The other day I realized that it's 35 years ago that I started to connect with that. So I was around 12. And I've been that seeker trying to figure out what is wrong with me. Why do I feel so different? Why? Basically, I've always felt like an alien. And so that search have brought me around into so many different areas. So I'm a super nerd. So when I dive into new materials all the time because I really want to know. And what it is that, who am I? And I think that is something that a lot of us have in common, that we really want to know who we are. And that's also why we are on this spiritual path. And we get all these concepts of who we are. The spiritual practices really connects us to our soul. And yet, for me at least, there have always been like these layers of where I don't feel free. I feel limited. And I've, for many years, thought it was because I am such a cosmic being. I've struggled being in this physical body. And over the last 5 years, I really started to go into this more world we live in, the 3D world, and the governance and the politics and why we experience this contraction and not being sovereign and free. So we have all these concepts and we can connect it with the Qigong or meditation and all these spiritual practices. But then we go out in our everyday life and we, like it becomes a discrepancy. There's just like two different realities. And for me, that this is really what I feel is the key is the programming. And we, in the spiritual reality or the world within, we focus on the love and the light, because that is who we are. We have this God spark, and we have that's our natural essence of this. And then we try to avoid all the dark. But what I've come to realize is that what a lot of people talk about the dark, they make it as evil. It's like dark is evil. And when I started to separate, and just, as a super nerd, I like to have structure and things. So I divided into, I could see like 3 major challenges. So you have the evil, of course, but then you also have the shadows. Shadows are different shades of the manifested light. So it's light that has been dimmed. And then we have the pure potential. That is also the dark. So in the yin and yang symbol, we have the yin and we have the yang. We need both to be whole. So to unite and feel united and connected to everything, we also need to embrace the dark. And that doesn't mean that we become evil, but it's that the transformation of our shadows that makes us become very free and liberated. So that's one point. We come in as born into this reality, and we go into with all these programs in our DNA. So everything is coded, and I think there's scientific evidence these days saying that we have at least 20 generations trauma and shadows and problems in our own DNA, also the good aspects. But for instance, me personally, my mother almost drowned when she was a child. And I've always had this feeling when I go into water that I get pulled down and drown. Could be a previous life, could also be my mother's trauma that is in my DNA. So I relive it. And as we don't realize all these programs we have, we are not free. So we are not liberated, and we cannot live our full potential. And that is what we came here to do, in my point of view, to really live our full potential as the unique beings we are. NASA did this study to look into the genius potential in a lot of people, the astronauts, and so they realized they could take this test and do it with other people as well. So they took a group of children, and at the age of 5, 98% of the children had the potentials of being genius. Then over the years, they made it into a longitude study. And then over the years, basically with the programming from school, from society, from the culture, the governance, the politics, it swapped, it turned upside down into the opposite. It was 2% by the average age of 30. The genius potential was 2%. So as I see it, it's part of our journey here is to really to reprogram and clear out. And there's many ways to do it, but it's really about coming back to who we are, to our soul, to the God spark, to that pure potential. And so we can do all these spiritual practices to support us with that, and also improve with our health, clear out our system and all of that in different ways. And it doesn't really matter. We take whatever fits us. There's no right or wrong way in any of this. But then there's a different dimension to this of the governance and politics. Because the moment we are born, we are alive. We are flesh and blood. We are these amazing, free, sovereign beings, right? The pureness of a baby. What happens is that the state is a private company. All states are private companies. So which means that when we then go and sign our children, or the state they take the governance over our children. They take over us as well. And we don't even know this. We are so programmed, so we don't even know that the moment you get the social security number of any kind, whatever you have in your specific country, you become their slave. You become their property. You become a stock at the stock market. And there, I have heard about this woman in Sweden, for instance, who started to do the research looking into her social security number and found out that there was a man who had the stock on her, because as we work, as we ship into the society as the good citizens we are, and especially the good people who we are, it has a lot of value, and we actually have a trust and everything. So basically we are all billionaires, and that is what pays for the roads, for the hospitals, everything. It's taking from our trust. So all the taxes we pay, everything, that is just for the rich to become richer, the governance and the states and the elite. So no wonder we don't feel sovereign and free, right? So we become victims of others. A lot of people on this sovereign journey, slip into and realize, because for different reasons. There was a Swedish pilot, who started to question and wonder, why is it that this is happening? That when I'm as a pilot, say to them, report how many people are on the flight, why is it that they say no, negative? They are souls. And we're talking about not souls as, the being, the soul, but the soles of our shoes. So SOLE. So they count us as cargo, and that is also how they then can control us. And that is basically, we have custody of our children. We don't own our children. And that is why the governance can take them away. So, and that is why they can do all these things that is happening on the planet right now, because we give our silent consent due to the programming into the society. So, and there's so much more I can speak about this, but I think I want to focus on the good part here, because how can we then become sovereign and free? And realizing that every time we use this social security number, we become a persona. We then live under the maritime law. There is this constitutional laws. There's different types of laws, because we are dead entities. When we free ourselves, we then become there's no laws underneath. We work with the common law, which is do no harm. That is just like, if everyone works with common law, which actually we do in our everyday life, which is common sense, we treat other people like we want to be treated, most of us, and we want what is good and for the highest good of all. But so when we start to work with the common law and the law of one, which is the God law, whatever, where we are all one, we claim our freedom. We claim that we are free. We claim that we are alive. If you have ever seen a royal family, they always hold up their children saying they're alive or in some way. And that is the reason, because they claim that they're alive, and then they are under other rules and laws than we are, as long as we identify with the persona, the dead entity. So becoming free is to really go in and understand the different laws. What are we under? What are we who is running the show. So there's one thing to know it spiritually and feel what we are, the connection with God. But we also need to understand there are those who really don't want us to do that, because that then, you know, we are their property. They want us to be as enslaved. So that, I don't know how much, if I have any more time, but I can I know a Bible away.
Another few minutes.
Okay, cool.
Go for it.
Yeah. So that is, it's like one part. So bike, then there are some live life claims we can do. There are all different types of where we've actually put our fingerprint, because a living being becomes if have a fingerprint, a dead entity don't. So there's been all these cases at court where you come with a live life claim saying, I'm a living sovereign being, and this social security number is the straw man. That is the company name. That's dead. That is not who I am. We also can claim our sovereignty and our freedom. And there has been people are allowed to just leave the court, because it's like, I'm not this person. I am not this identity of the social security. Hence, they don't have any, they can't rule over us, because as sovereign being, we are under the common law, which is only the law of do no harm. So then as we are alive, how can we be under any laws? Who created the laws? We did, or the humanity did. So there's all these different aspects, and I think that for the last many months, it become more and more clear that we need to stop giving our silent consent. We can't accept that there are some in the government telling us what to do, going into our private homes, going in and arrest us for something that, you know, that is not even a pandemic. Like there's, you know, not more people dying of this than anything else every year. And they are creating all this fear, because fear is how they control us. So how can we be free and sovereign if we are contracted into fear? So we need to understand how the government works, how the elite run the show, and start doing the research into that. Look into common law, look into these whole systems. Because all of a sudden, for me personally, when I started to hear about this a few years ago, it's like, oh my God, this is why, you know, because we have all these different dimensions, I can connect up to all the different realities, cosmos, and my different bodies. And I can work with that to clear out the programs. But can I really understand? Also, it's like, how do I apply that in my everyday life? And that is for me, has been like almost the last piece to understand, because it's like we still live in this reality. And yeah, I'm going to end up in, you know,